Hi, you've reached Call Your Publicist, your go-to source for PR moves, media moments, and brand strategies that keep businesses and people in the headlines for the right reasons. I'm one of your hosts, Jenna Guarneri, CEO and founder of JMG Public Relations.
And I'm your co-host, Alexandra Anastasio. Let's start talking.
So thank you for joining us. Welcome back. I'm really excited because we have Thomas Shields here, who is the founder of the Dink. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on. I'm going to judge you the whole time.
Fantastic. I cannot wait.
I'm going to judge your podcasting techniques.
I'm nervous.
Well, then you got to throw tips out. So if you see something you don't
I'll
like.
take mental notes. We'll go over it after.
All right, we get feedback after?
Yeah.
Like a recap call?
I'm here to help.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
We're ready. Bring it on.
I'm excited to have you here because we're in the same entrepreneurial community, right?
Yep.
So I know you from before this, but I love your story. I love what you're doing. But tell our audience a little bit about the Dink just to get us started.
Yeah, so we do a lot of different things, probably too much. The best way to think of us is like we started as the morning brew for pickleball or the skim for pickleball. And we've transitioned into like 360 media, right? So every major platform, we have a web publication, newsletter, social media, podcasts, and we do a bunch of events as well. So we have an amateur tour, which has about 300 events across the U.S. We're launching 20 new countries. So These are like team-based amateur tournaments where you're trying to compete to win your way to a regional, a state championship, eventually a national championship. But then we'll do other events like celebrity pro-ams, just like one-off amateur tournaments, or if a brand wanted to have some sort of activation to entertain clients or get their product in the hands, we'll like build an event from the ground up. So media and events is basically the premise.
Awesome. And how long has it been around for now?
4 years.
4 years. And how long has pickleball been around for?
1965.
Okay. And it's just gained popularity over what, the last 10 years?
Yeah, I would say 10 years, really like the last 4.
Yeah.
When I got into the sport, I was like embarrassed to talk about it. It was like a retirement community sport only. And it has evolved far beyond anything I could have expected. So it's been a crazy 4 years.
So I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Because you just said something when you said it was originally thought of as like a retirement community kind of sport. So what inspired you to focus on pickleball media? And when did you say, I'm going to start the Dink? Like, especially that people were focused on it as a retirement community kind of sport.
Well, my grandfather, who lived in a retirement community, they built courts and we started playing it like as a family when we go down, once a year to visit.
Right.
And then like my dad got really obsessed with it, built a court in Michigan. And so it was really just like proximate to me at the time. It wasn't that I saw some crazy trend.
Right.
Just felt like nobody was covering the sport. I know a little bit about it. I play it sometimes. And because it was like an older demographic, all the media news, all the companies, all the businesses were reflective of that. So being the first to come in with kind of like modern media coverage, we immediately had like a differentiator, right? Nobody was covering the sport, so we filled that gap. Yeah.
Let me ask this question: where was your grandfather? Was it Florida?
Yeah.
I only asked that. I figured that. I have a condo in Lakewood Ranch, right outside of Sarasota.
Well, they just built some like crazy. That might be the one that shut down though.
No, there's pickleball courts in ours.
No, there's definitely pickleball courts, but there was this one massive facility in Lakewood Ranch specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't want to say the wrong thing. Maybe I'm.
I don't know.
Another one, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, I don't know. But when we first bought in there, and then we saw, obviously, it's a golf community, so there's 2 PGA golf courses in there, but there's a dedicated spot for pickleball. Not a lot of courts, but I think there's more people I think who want to play pickleball in there.
Oh yeah.
Than that want to play tennis.
Yep.
So I know there's this whole thing going on between like the pickleball community, the tennis community. So it's interesting.
Well, if there's PGA courses, then there's like pretty serious golfers who are like,
there's 2 PGA.
Don't disturb me with that bullshit pickleball sound, right? That battle is going on at country clubs across the country.
Yes, and I feel like there's something similar to what you're talking about in there. I see like the emails and stuff, or like I'm on a group text. I don't even know these people, but they talk about that. I just don't really get involved in that, but I think that's probably what's happening.
Yeah.
We were literally just there. I just got back 2 days ago, but I didn't play pickleball. I wanted to.
Well, now you have to.
I know. I do.
Obligated.
Well, I keep saying it. My fiance plays. He loves it. And I keep saying, I need you to teach me. It has not yet to happen.
Just got to go out there.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
I love, though, that you said that you played pickleball with your grandfather. I mean, we both have stories with our grandparents. So it's almost like, was there an affinity to it that perhaps like you didn't realize was there, and that kind of helped push you along because it's connected to your family and grandfather?
Definitely. We were, so we would go down to this area in Florida at least once a year, a couple times a year sometimes. And it was like growing up mandatory that we would have to do tennis as a family before we could go, go to the beach or whatever. Right. So it became something that we did together. And some of my family is in the tennis business.
Okay.
I've got a few college tennis players in the family. One of my uncles is now like a senior pro pickleball player. They're all obsessed with pickleball. So it was just like this graduation, probably not the right word. We all got older. Pickleball is easier to play than tennis. And they built those courts down there, and it was like the way we bonded. And what's cool is when I started, I think my youngest cousin would have been like 13, 14, probably more like 12. And then, my grandpa's in his 80s, and we're still able to go out on the court and like have fun, be competitive.
Nice.
That is very unique.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's good too because you can do it. Like you were saying, it started as a family coming together. So it's something you can spend time doing. It's not like where you're like, all right, you go do this, I'm going to do this, and we all have to disperse. It's something that brings people together. So it unifies you. Yeah.
And you can do it. My family is pretty competitive. So like sometimes we go out there and it's like we try to kill each other. But other times like, let's pack a cooler, put some music on, like just go mess around. Right. So you can get the different vibes depending on what you're into.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so starting out, you were like, I'm going to make this media company. How did you figure out and was this your first take at being an entrepreneur?
No, definitely not. Let's just say there were many ideas that never actually launched.
Okay.
I had helped get some companies off the ground, but never like run one myself. So I had joined a startup and kind of saw what it takes to run a small business. And that kind of gave me the confidence that I think I could try something myself. And so I think a lot of people will be like, it's very cool you built a business around your passion.
Yep.
Not really the case. I was like, I just want to start a business, see if I could, get revenue, flip it on the side. And chose pickleball just again because it was like relevant to me at the time. And this all happened in like a week. And launched website, PowerPoint logo, published first issue to nobody. And, a couple months later, like we had already made a name for ourselves just because like we were filling a gap. So it was cool. It's like a quick growth process, but the pickleball community was small. So
I love that you did this essentially overnight and in just a week.
Yeah.
So many people spend too much time trying to come up with a strategy, a business plan. And I feel like that's wasted time. For me, it's like if you have an idea, it's good to just run with it. I mean, you got to know what you're doing at the same time. But I think there's something to jumping on something. And clearly that worked out well for you because you jumped in on this super early, which is such a win in an entrepreneur life. Like to jump in early and to be able to succeed so early on. I mean, that's golden as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Right.
I think it's like the mentality of, well, I'm just going to try it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. That can be a good thing and a bad thing at times. You just chase the shiny object. And, I started off saying, we do a lot of different things. We probably do too much. So we kind of just go after what's exciting. Sometimes it's better to stay focused. But yeah, if you're going to start a business, like as long as it's not like super capital intensive or you're going to go raise money, then might as well just like, what's a bare minimum you could do to get it off the ground? And just try it. See what happens.
What was your mindset like when you realized, okay, you had no subscribers that first week, and then there was that a couple of months later, all of a sudden now you're super popular. Like, what was that mentality like? Were you celebrating? What did you do?
Yeah, to me, it was just like fun building. Like I like to build, right? So I like to help young founders just like ideate, problem solve, get stuff off the ground. So like that's exciting to me. So for me, it was like, some people play video games. Like to me, it was like, let's just build a internet product. And like, that's fun. So it didn't really matter where we got at the end of the day. Sure. I had kind of laid out some goals or, I would just say like, if we hit certain benchmarks, that'd be a success, but I wasn't like tying myself to that. Okay. This is maybe like the imposter syndrome, but the pickleball community was very small. It was a much older demo. So even though we were like getting audience, I was like, I'm publishing for like my grandparents and their friends. It wasn't like that exciting.
I'm sure your grandfather was very proud of you. Proud.
He was. And he is like the biggest fan. He still like replies to the newsletters and stuff and reads them, which is fun. Yeah. So I would say it wasn't until probably like 6 months where I was like, oh, this is cool. Mm-hmm. We were going to all the pro events, meeting the pros and stuff like that. So
when you started, obviously, like you just said, it kind of just in a week just dove in. But would you say, and then obviously 6 months later, it becomes something that's cool. But would you say, what were the challenges? Because, I mean, I've never launched my own business, but I have to believe that while it's fun, it's probably also, I don't want to use it frustrating, but maybe like when things are not going the way in which you want them to go or you expect them to go. So what are some of the challenges that you faced along the way? Do we have time for all that?
Yeah.
No,
where do we begin?
Yeah.
Because I know people probably think starting a business maybe or a platform, they're like, oh, I could do this. It's easy. And it might be simple to get it off the ground, but I have to believe once it's off the ground and launched.
Yes.
Taking it to the another level is different.
Right. For me, I'd be like, okay, what happens now? Yeah. What do I do?
Yeah. It should be easy to just like get it off the ground unless you're like building some crazy product or something like that. The challenge is like, okay, will people pay you for whatever you're doing?
Right.
And how do you market yourself? Luckily, I had some sales experience from the startup I joined. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so that gave me the confidence, like, you learn how to get on the phone with anybody. So getting on the phone, asking somebody early for like $500 for an ad, like not that big of a deal.
Right.
The real challenge is, once you get it off the ground, turning it into a real business, managing people, finding people, training them, and like learning that on the fly. There's a million books about how to manage people. Mm-hmm. Learning it on the fly is fraught with many, many, many challenges.
Yeah. I feel like as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's so many books we try to read. There's like the book for accounting, there's the book for HR, because we don't go to school for each of these specialties. So we're trying to figure out each of these departments as we go. And, what is your advice for entrepreneurs that are trying to figure it out and pull all the pieces together, right? Like, what would you suggest to young entrepreneurs?
So I just graduated with my MBA. I learned far more getting a business off the ground than you can in a classroom. So you can study, you can read books. These can give you like guideposts or frameworks. Ultimately, every founder has to touch the stove a few times. I read it just like you probably do, right? And so I have an idea of what I should do in any given moment. I still make those mistakes. I'm like, oh, that's why they said that in the book, right? I got to learn the hard way. And I think that can be a good thing. And just understanding like you are going to fail. There are going to be challenges. You might embarrass yourself a couple of times, but you'll come out on the other side. You'll be better. So
I was going to say, isn't that what would probably make for a good entrepreneur is to make those mistakes, even though we don't want to make those, to kind of go through those, maybe I guess say tough times or those challenges, because now all right, I did it. I'm done. Like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I learned. And I like what you said about how you're learning more, not that you didn't learn in school, but it's almost like when they say it's hands-on, you're going to learn on the job. You have to be in it to experience. They can teach you in a classroom, but if you're not doing it in the classroom, how do you know how to apply it in those real world situations? And in this case, that's exactly, it sounds like what happened or what happens.
Yeah, I pretty much learned everything on the fly, even though I had all the resources like learning.
Right. Yeah.
I just was actually implementing the things I was reading about and hearing from people when I would have those conversations. But I don't know that my method is the best. I think you should get people around you who can advise you and help you sort through these situations so you make the right decision.
But isn't that what you are doing, though? Because you're in the entrepreneurial community.
I am now.
Group, right?
I am now. So I finally got it through my head that I'm not like Steve Jobs and I should probably like ask people for help. So
I have something just came to mind. You said something when you launched the Dink. This was all you, like solo, nobody else.
I had my older brother's like childhood best friend lived at my dad's house, and we were all like living at my dad's house for like during COVID, right? Because we were like floating, or like late 20s, 30s, whatever. And he loved pickleball. He's really good at content. So in the early days, he was coming with me because we were like touring the country, going to these events, shooting content, and editing videos and helping to run social and stuff like that. So he was with me for a while. He now like coaches pickleball in Michigan and helps us do some content here and there. But I wasn't totally alone. But as far as like, the business decisions, and
right, like
where
that
are we going? How are we marketing ourselves? How do we monetize this thing? Yeah, it was kind of just me going at it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and at this point too, you've built such a business too. So like we always talk about the power of the tribe, right? The people you bring around you, right? So I know from talking with you that you have such amazing people that work with you. So how was it for you, and when did you see the results of bringing in other people to help support the business and help grow it?
Yeah, we got lucky with like our first ever full-time hire. We had plenty of fans who would reach out and be like, I would love to write for you. A lot of people say that. And you're like, all right, write me a sample. That churns half the people. They're like, oh, I'm not going to do work for free. It's all right. Well, I have nothing to judge you on. And you work in like tech or something. Like, it's not applicable. But there were a couple who were like, all right, like sent in some writing, helped to start do like side projects, kind of freelance stuff. And then eventually we brought one on full time. He's still with us today. So got lucky with the first hire. And then there were many hires after that who are no longer around. And I think I have learned, I think I'm a good judge of character. I think I can, read through a resume, figure out the bullshit, figure out what works. I've made a lot of hiring mistakes, and I'm probably, a lot of that is my fault for not having trained them properly. So I think you are just, it's inevitable. Like, you're going to hire some good people. You're going to hire some bad people. And it's just kind of that's par for the course, part of the learning process.
Absolutely.
Well, I think too, if you're doing it, I'm going to say on your own, right? It's not like you have this whole HR team and like department.
Yeah, so we don't have an HR.
Right. So I'm saying if you have to do it, I think you both can speak to this as solo entrepreneurs. You launched your business as yours. You launched your business as yours. So all of these decisions are yours. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you can turn around to HR and say, okay, I have this resume, I'm reading it, and I see something that maybe doesn't sound, because, let's admit, people put that fluff in there so they look great. And like you said, you got to weed through it.
Yeah.
So there's nobody to say, hey, can you help me with this? You're doing it yourself. So you have to go on your own judgment. So I feel like there's always going to be those times where you probably are going to get the fantastic people who are going to probably stay loyal and want to be with you through the journey. And then those other people who they come on board and maybe they work out for a little while and then maybe they go into other pastures for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So, but I can only imagine how tough that is because you're trying to do all the things and touch on all the departments. So kudos to both of you because that's a lot.
I think if you make if you can make one good hire, it can unlock a lot of value.
Oh, for sure. Especially if it becomes like a right-hand person where you could trust them when you're doing something else and don't have to think twice about it.
Right. Yeah. And then, there's a lot of venture firms who won't invest in startup that doesn't have co-founders. Like solo founders are a red flag because
why?
Well, it's like one personality type. Right?
Okay.
So
one decision maker.
Me, I'm the one who's like, I'm going to run in a million different directions and I'm going to run through a brick wall, but there probably should be somebody who can
pull you back from the brick wall.
Yeah. And it's like, hold on.
Do not hit.
Yeah, right. Maybe we should just focus on the thing that makes us money.
Right.
Versus the,
I gotcha.
There should be like a buttoned up person and then there should be the charge ahead personality. Yeah. And they balance each other out.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I want to shift the topic a little bit to branding. We talk a lot about you can have a business, but you don't have to have a brand at the same time. So obviously, you've created such a powerful brand. What was that like from the beginning? Was that intentional? How did you set the stage to build the name that you have now?
Yeah, I very much wanted to build a brand and not like me and have the brand be able to sit alone. When I started it, the idea was, how can I flip a business, right? Well, if there's key man risk is what they call it, right? Like Dave Portnoy is a good example at Barstool. If he goes, Barstool will still be around, but like he's at the helm and he's very much the figurehead. And so that would be considered like a key man risk. I didn't want that to be the case. So for the most part, I would just focus on building the brand, and it would kind of have like my personality and sense of humor, but people didn't identify the brand with me until I started a podcast and started like commentating professionally. Then I started to become more encompassed with the brand, which I've walked back a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to build a brand that people have affinity toward. It has a voice, it has a personality. So it has those aspects of a person, but it could live and breathe on its own.
When you just brought up Dave Guarneri, I was going to say maybe Miss Peaches. I'm obsessed with his dog. Maybe Miss Peaches could take over.
Brand of herself.
Yes. I just love that dog. Not to get sidetracked, but you just brought up the podcast, your podcast. So obviously you just mentioned you're stepping back a little bit, but you know, the Dink has many facets. You have your newsletter, you have your podcast. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast. Even though you're stepping back a little bit, you know, tell us about it. How has it been for you when you were getting in front of that camera, microphone? Because you said you've tried to build that business without you being the face, so to speak. But then you launched that podcast. Now you were a little bit of the face of your brand. So how is that? Like, how was that for you? And you said you're stepping back. So I want to just talk a little bit about that.
It's gone through many evolutions. The origin is we basically had an agent who was repping us for brand deals. He was very plugged into sports betting. Sports betting was supposed to be and is supposed to be, they've been saying it for like 3 years, implemented into pickleball, which would open up, you know, potential new revenue streams, new industry, people coming to watch the sport. And he had said over and over again, these gambling companies, like, they want to sponsor personalities and podcasts. You need to make a podcast. I'm like, all right, fine, we'll make a podcast. Okay. Around that time, I had started to become good friends with Tyson Apostle. You ever watch Survivor?
No, I have not, but it's a huge community of people that watch Survivor.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like an OG Survivor.
I feel like I've heard this name.
Oh, is that the main guy that it's like always the face?
He's like long blonde hair. He won an early season, and he was the first one, I think, to emerge as like a villain. He's actually a really nice guy. Like his on camera, off camera.
Two totally different.
They're similar, but like he is an instigator when he's on camera. Like he turns up. He like flips the switch. He was obsessed with pickleball. We were driving through Phoenix. He DM'd us, was like, come play. So we went, met him, became friends, stayed in touch. He has a bunch of other podcasts that he's on. Was like, I want to do a pickleball podcast around the same time that this, you know, agent was like, you need to start a podcast. So we're like, all right, let's try it.
The stars aligned.
And so we did that together for about a year. In those early days, like, we weren't getting that many views. Nobody wanted to listen to a pickleball podcast. We weren't making any money on it. He's got to make money. He didn't say this, but was like, hey, I think maybe I'm going to move in another direction. I was like, I get it. You're not making any money. You got shit to do.
Right.
So we paused the podcast for a few months, but I had become good friends with Zane Navratil, who's one of the, you know, top pros in the sport, big personality. Has won every medal and championship you can. And we were both living in Austin. I had just moved to Austin. And it was kind of on a whim. One of us texted the other, was like, want to just like try and run a podcast? Rented a studio, got in there, sat down, put it up. People liked it. And, you know, it's been 3 years, 2.5 years since then. And it emerged to become like the #1 podcast in the sport.
Fantastic.
It's been voted the #1 3 years in a row. Now we're the ones who run the awards program. So I promise we've never cooked the books, but recently, like, we've got so much stuff going on. I called him. I was like, hey, like, I don't know how much value I bring. Let's try it without me. And so over the past, I'd say, month, he's been running it alone. It's going well.
Nice.
So I don't necessarily care about being on a podcast. Yeah. Takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. So if the podcast is better with me or without me, I don't really care.
Right.
Let's just do what's best for the pod. So
right. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of the podcast, right? Because obviously we launched a podcast.
A lot of people are starting that, but it also ties to the power of content, right? So it's all about this, like building content as a brand. Why is that so important? How have you seen, obviously you're a media company, so you're creating content, but for entrepreneurs that aren't media companies, why is that important for them to build as part of the business?
Do you have favorite podcasts that you listen to consistently?
How I Built This, popular one. Yeah.
With Guy Raz?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you?
You
don't have to say what they are.
Yeah, you
just to say what you do.
I do. I mean, I'll say I love Mel Robbins. Okay. I interviewed her years ago, and that's how I started listening to her podcast. And so, you know, when I'm out on a walk, whatever, I'm always like, she's my go-to.
Yeah. I have a few podcasts I listen to where I've seen them on the street, and like, I'm like, that's my friend, you know? So because you spend hours listening to these people, right? So it builds a different level of affinity. So you get 10,000 people to watch your podcast or 10,000 people to view your Instagram reel. The 10,000 that watch your podcast is way more valuable, right? Like there's a level of like intimacy and they trust you. And so an ad on a podcast is going to be, you're going to be able to drive more actions on more product or whatever the goal is.
Right.
Or more powerfully endorse something authentically versus on like social media where it's just all about scale. You gotta pump out new content constantly.
Right.
So there's different, and then there's other mediums that kind of range in between there. I'd say like those the opposite ends of the spectrum. So when it comes to like building true brand affinity, I think a podcast is a very, very powerful tool. But like social media, you have a big follower count, like, yeah, it's just ingrained in us at this point. Like, oh, we got to take this person seriously or this brand seriously, right? So there's different value that the different platforms can provide depending on what your business is.
Yeah. And that builds on what we talk about a lot. It's about the human element, right? Building that credibility by getting to know people on the human level, on a personal level.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that the podcast draws you in more. You're hearing people talk. It's not, overly produced stuff like sometimes on Instagram and social media, right? It's this very organic conversation.
Well, I think too with a podcast, you have a little more time to explain or share a story or what you want to talk about, right? On social, you know, after 3 minutes or you lose people, I think, very quickly. Like if I'm scrolling and somebody's starting to tell a story and it's going on, and I'm like, are we getting to the point yet?
Yeah,
and then I get mad because when I tell a story, people will say, I won't name names, will say, all right, Alexandra, can you get to the point already? Fast forward. Or Michael say to me, I need the abbreviated version. But I'm like, but I'm a storyteller. So when I tell the story, I need to lay out the whole part. Yet I'm getting frustrated with everybody else.
Right.
So, but I feel like on a podcast, you can dig a little deeper. You can have a little more, if you're talking about, I don't know, let's say you're interviewing somebody, like we're interviewing you, we can get a little deeper. Whereas on social clips, you have 3 minutes and you got to make that quick. And you hope that you're holding somebody's attention. At least on a podcast, I'm here because I chose to be here. I didn't just pop up in your feed and now you have to scroll past me.
Yeah.
So
it's like authenticity as well. You listen to somebody talk for 30 minutes, 2 hours, like, it's going to be tough to be fake, right? Eventually you're going to see through that. Instagram, TikTok, you can be pretty curated and you can fake it. And we see the downfall of many of these like fake personalities.
right.
And so, I think being able to be authentic and like allowing people to get to know you more, like the next time you're on a call with a potential client, right? If they've watched this podcast, they're going to feel like they know you and trust what you have to say. Versus if they're considering a few other PR firms, right? So that can be pretty powerful. You are going to be establishing yourself as an expert throughout, right? So, yeah, I think they can be pretty valuable.
Yeah. I want to also talk a little bit about legacy. Because if you remember when we first met too, I was like, hey, you're the pickleball guy. And you were like, later on, you're like, I'll be the pickleball guy. I don't want that to be my legacy. Why is legacy important as entrepreneurs? And what do you envision to be your legacy?
Yeah, okay, I don't have a good answer to this question.
Good, I put you on the spot.
Because I don't know.
You're being authentic. We like that. You're being honest.
You kind of sent me into a spiral when I saw that in the email. I don't know. And I actually, because I was trying to think through it, I looked up the definition. legacy is two things. So legacy can be literally like the monetary assets you leave in your will to somebody, right? So it's like basically how much money you make. So there's one aspect. I assume you're not asking about that one. The other is like, what are you known for? What's your lasting impact, right? Yeah, I don't necessarily. I like that now. If I walk into a room, like people are like, "Oh, the guy."
You're the guy.
Unfortunately, the pickleball guy, but at least they know me. But yeah, I think try and like appreciate that more. But yeah, it can be like you walk in a room, it's like that's what you're associated with. So the pickleball guy versus like who is this person? Like let me figure them out. So there's good and bad with it. I don't know what I want my legacy to be, which is why I'm in a spiral now. I'm like, am I on the right path? Should I be doing what I'm doing? So.
Listen to Mel Robbins. She might help put you on the right path. I'm only kidding. But I think that's okay, right? I don't know if you necessarily have to know immediately. It's like, you know, when you start out in a career, like, okay, I'm going to ask you this question. Before you started the Dink, before you got started, when we're kids, we all kind of have that like image of what we want to be when we grow up, right? We're like, I'm going to be this, or I want to do this. I was a
multi-sport pro athlete, obviously.
Of course.
Didn't pan out.
But there you go. So when you think about things, right, you think you're going one way or you hope you're going that way, but then it changes. So I think that's okay if you don't yet necessarily are able to define what you feel your legacy is. You have many roads to continue to follow.
I think it's a good thing to think about, though. You know, a good thought experiment. What do you want to be known for, right? What do you want your impact to be?
Right.
How can that guide what you do next or what you're doing now? So
when you talk about next, Upswing Sports.
I'm going to have another bad answer, but go ahead.
Okay. Let's bring on those bad answers. Hopefully I don't have a bad question. But obviously the Dink is that authoritative voice in pickleball.
Yeah.
So was there like one of those, you know, when you have those like aha moments that you're like, okay, I've kind of mastered this. I want to expand. I saw what I've done in this space. What now else can I do?
Yep.
So did you have that moment? What is Upswing Sports and what's your vision?
Definitely. I think it kind of goes back to like being known as a pickleball guy. I've always wanted to build something more. This was kind of like just the first thing. It's supposed to be a side hustle now. It's like, you know, so much more. The premise for Upswing Sports was like, let's take this model and replicate it. And like, I want to be like a sports media guy, not just like a pickleball media guy.
Right.
If I'm just talking about like the selfish angle of it, there were a few things that happened, but ultimately we were like, okay, pickleball is growing like crazy. We've got a great brand. There's so much more we could do in this space. Why take our eye off the ball and try and tackle a million other sports or even one or two others when we can continue to focus our energy here, do it really well, grow with the sport, and expand to, you know, like events and e-commerce versus a whole new sport. Right. So that, I think we kind of came to that conclusion a couple years ago, year and a half ago. And so we're just like very focused on pickleball right now. There's some other like side ventures, but Upswing is kind of like maybe in the future.
Okay.
But it ended up becoming like a holdco for underneath it is the Dink and a few other like minority investments and small businesses. So
okay.
Yeah.
So last question. What lessons have you learned up until this point, right? You're just at the beginning of your journey, realistically. There's so much more to your entrepreneurial journey. So what have you learned thus far that you could perhaps share with others that are perhaps taking a side hustle into a successful business?
This is a one time I'll like quote a book. I think it's Ben Horowitz, and he was having a conversation with Mark Andreessen, I believe. And the quote is something like, entrepreneurship lends to two things, like euphoria and terror. And I find that lack of sleep enhances them both. And to me, that's like, I have to think about that constantly because in any given day, I might be like, we're going, you know, to the moon. And another day, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to be in this business anymore, right? Where something happens and you're just distraught. And then something happens and you're like, over the moon, like, this is such a positive signal. That fluctuates constantly. Everybody I talk to that runs a business, same thing. That's part of it. And if you kind of run into that initial hurdle or that initial moment of terror, if you will, just understand that everybody goes through that. And it's part of the process, kind of push through. We'll have another Euphoria day right around the corner. So
awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining us. This has been a fun conversation. So how can people follow you personally and also the Dink?
I like to brag about this. We're at Pickleball on Twitter. That's cool. Or X. But yeah, at the Dink Pickleball on like all the major platforms, and then thedinkpickleball.com.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Cool. Thanks for having me.